G37X.
That's cool.
There's a V6 engine. When you're driving like 90 miles per hour, it feels like you're driving 40 or 50 miles per hour.
Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah.
Powerful little sucker.
It is. They are kind of underrated because, I mean, it's a kind of luxury car, but the price tag is not really showing that.
Yeah.
It's a 2013. It only had 14,000 miles on it.
Was it in an accident?
No, it was no accident on
it. Seems really good.
We bought it for about $22,000.
Yeah.
So.
Not bad.
Not bad.
So, I just sent you a link to the Excel document I made. I feel like you always make it, so I made one this week.
Guilt tricked you?
No, you didn't. I actually had some time, and I kind of had a vision of how I could do it. I sent it to your email because if I post it onto Google Docs, it just messes it up.
Oh, okay.
So I'm kind of sick of that. So
yeah.
And then I can kind of explain to you what I did. I've actually already
opening it up right now.
You're fine.
Yeah.
I actually already wrote my analysis. I just need to turn it in.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm pretty much done too. So.
Okay.
Okay, so I have it open.
So on the first page, it says getting investors. What I did is I took the 2 years and I calculated a ratio off 2002 and 2001. And that's the ratio of one store, right?
Yeah.
On average. That way I could project to 2016 or 2006.
Yeah.
And I did all that. I just wanted to know what net income before tax was, right?
Yeah.
Or even more importantly, just net income, even before other income. Other income was kind of weird.
Yeah.
So then I took that information and put it on the next page, the franchisees.
Okay.
And I added in their royalty fees, franchise fees, and new operation cost. The textbook said that 75% of fees is profit margin. So the operating expenses is just 25% of the franchise fees.
Okay.
Anyways, so all of this is times 1,000, obviously.
Yeah.
So under the franchise option, they would have $6.4 million by 2006.
Yeah.
So my analysis was basically they should go with franchising and also build the extra 150 stores. Well, so they have 58 stores of 2002. So they just need to build another 100 stores by 2006.
Yeah.
Themselves.
Then they want to get up to about 300 stores or something like that.
No. They want a 50-50 ratio of 300 stores.
Oh, okay.
So that's why 150 stores owned by, so sell C13, franchise owned by stores, 150, and then units open by year end owned by company.
Yeah.
So that's why I did it that way. That way you could analysis or put an analysis on it. But the thing that I thought was really interesting was I created like a ratio for each time, the numbers at the bottom, like the 10.44, and it kind of shows as the company's getting, each store is getting better, that number should go up and up and up.
Yeah.
And under this analysis, even though they have all the franchises, their stores they owned are not really negatively affected.
Yeah.
And then the franchise stores, they make threefold what their stores make for them, for the cost.
Yeah.
So it's kind of interesting. But these are all assumptions. I mean, there's probably things that are totally wrong about this, but it kind of gives us a ballpark or an idea.
Absolutely. Well, I did a little besides an Excel, I did a problem analysis where you say what I went over with the stuff that I had to think about and if because that's part of what we need to discuss also. So I'm just going to bring up a few things here. So I did say, the noodle company faced tremendous pressure from larger competitors. So that's why one of the reasons why they want to grow rapidly or grow. Fighting for attractive real estate, that was another problem they were facing. Being also an up and coming business is very important for them to get capital to grow. But in this case, because they want to grow so quickly, taking getting a venture into this, they will probably take too much of the stakes of the company, so it's not worth it.
Yeah.
Another thing that we were struggling in the beginning was also the taste quality, which they worked on. They fixed things while they were going. Yeah, so also because they were aggressively expanding, they had some problem to get fitting managers and employees. So it's very important that going into franchises to keep because they want to keep it in certain ways, an atmosphere, knowledge, and all that. It's very important that they train and pick the new franchise or the franchisee very carefully, so the person has money to cover their costs and things like that, but also to keep the value of the company. Because if you franchise to people, you have to be careful so they don't change the atmosphere and the food and things like that. You want to keep the quality up.
Yeah. Well, and the thing is, something he said like over and over in the text was that I think it was this case that when you treat it like your own, you like act differently than well, you have to treat it like your company, and when one does that, then the profits will follow. So like in a way, franchising actually gives that fills that qualification, as people, as they own the store, they're going to do all they can to maximize profits. Whereas if the corporation just owns them all, it's so hard for them to manage 300 stores because they have to have the managers of their stores, and it said that there's like 4 managers for every store. So you're talking about like 1,200 people just for managers of the stores. And then you have to have general manager that covers 100, all 300 stores.
Yeah.
Whereas if you franchise, the owner just needs a general manager to call for questions, and the general manager just needs to check up.
Yeah.
And the owner takes all the expenses for all the other managers, and sometimes just manages it himself to save money.
Yeah.
So, and that was kind of one of my arguing points in the case was like franchising is going to give them a better control without control. You know what I mean? If they write their bylaws really well, then they can force people to do whatever they want.
Yeah.
That's just the thing. You have to have a really good bylaws.
The thing is, we also franchise. I know I didn't read this because they have some paper here in the franchise, but I read some of it, and what it is a franchisee. He can lose his business anytime because as a main owner of the franchise or for the business, they can take that away from the franchisee if they're not
obeying the bylaws.
Following the procedures that they want you to follow. So
Yeah, and that's the thing,
that,
and that's why they're pulling them. They can constantly force them to do what they want them to do. Did you
exactly.
ever watch the McDonald's movie on Netflix?
No, I have not.
You should see it. It is like so good. Like it's something that you could watch with your wife. It's entertaining, but it's really
Uh,
business and stuff.
yeah,
Um, and the guy basically the person who actually started McDonald's, they got kicked out of the company because
yeah,
someone else came in and said, let's franchise this, let's franchise it. And they didn't want to follow the new bylaws. The
yeah.
original store didn't want to follow the new bylaws. So he kicked him out of the company, made him change the entire store, took the McDonald's name, and their
Okay.
last name was McDonald's. And then he built a McDonald's right across the street from them to
Oh
tear
no.
it out of business.
Oh wow.
It's really interesting. You should watch it. It's so
Yeah,
good. But
I didn't know about that.
it changes. It made me like not want to go to McDonald's in a way. But the thing is that it did talk about that's really important, and I think applies here, is McDonald's makes more of its money off real estate than it does food.
Yeah.
In the sense that they own McDonald's headquarters. There's a company called McDonald's Real Estate, and they
Okay.
buy the land, and then they require the franchise to rent the land and build the store on top of their land.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That I heard about that.
So like Noodles and Company could do the same thing where they go purchase the land, then require the franchise to build on that land and rent from them. So they're getting $35,000 from franchise fees, royalty fees, and then probably another $2,000 of rental fee.
Yeah.
And that also just gives them more control that if the company isn't doing what they want, they can always just cancel their lease.
Yeah.
Once the lease terminates, they can rip out the carpet underneath them. So, anyways, was there any other questions that we had to cover?
Oh,
Actually, I never really opened that up.
I say what made Noodles and Company an attractive opportunity for Aaron Kennedy in 1995. Obviously, if you remember in the beginning, he was talking about he went to this Asian place up in New York and he ate, and he realized, that he could probably take this idea to make it a worldwide thing, because it was no worldwide noodle restaurant, fast food restaurants in the world, and most cultures had some noodles in it, like the Chinese noodles, the Italian noodles. I mean, it's many different cultures that have used noodles as food. So that's what was spun his idea from that.
No, it's a brilliant idea, is what it is.
The next question was, what caused the company early struggles? Why do you think so? Well, you mentioned it first about the recipes were not fully there. And that is a key ingredient for people to come back and eat at your place. If you don't provide a good food, people are not going to come back. So that's a very key, important part of the restaurant. So
yeah. Well, and that's the thing is they didn't have that to start, and they kind of lost people's excitement.
Yeah.
But I mean, they got it back.
Yes.
It just took more work.
They sat down and they worked with a chef there to get better recipes, and that made him stronger again.
Yeah.
It was also interesting that he bought the place, even though he was struggling. He bought a new place.
Yeah, that was the thing I didn't like about the case or him as a person. It's like he just like had no problem spending more money, even though he didn't have anything to match it.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is kind of not a wise thing to be doing, but I guess he made it work.
You have people that are high risk takers, and he had been working now with the bigger brands like Pepsi and other brands that he had some knowledge and he knew how to build a brand. And I think he felt very strongly that he had something really good going. He just had some struggles that he needed to take care of in the beginning to turn it around, and he was able to. So the third question is, what role should franchising play in the company's growth?
Well, I think. Yeah, go ahead. No, go ahead.
I think they have a big role in the growth because they can quickly, without putting money out of their own pockets, they can spread their brand in many different locations and pretty much everywhere. And like we were talked about earlier, is that they have to follow the certain rules and stuff like that. But if they do that, they have a less risk to take because they're not losing any equity or they don't lose any stake in their company because they still are in charge of it. They don't lose any shares, and they didn't need to risk going borrowing money from the bank either that have a high interest and all that. So
yeah.
What did you have to say there?
Well, and I mean, like you said, I think it's all supposed to enable growth.
Yeah.
And what it does is it prevents them, instead of incorporating this entire capital funding and then waiting for the money to come slowly, instead they take out that capital funding and let the money just drip slower.
Yeah.
And it's a little less risk. Like if one franchise fails, it falls upon the franchisee's problem. I mean, Noodles and Company has to come in and quickly like rip down signs and make it look like it never was a Noodles and Company, because that's the last thing they want to do is have a building. I mean, example, like McDonald's, you never drive by and see a McDonald's that's shut down. That you can tell is still a McDonald's. They make it look like something else. They spend money, to paint it and to get rid of any look that it was McDonald's, so no one thinks, oh, a McDonald's was there and it shut down.
Yeah.
And if they do that, I mean, if they do shut one down, they move it and they put signs up like, hey, we moved here. Like, they don't want it to ever look like they ran out of business. So,
but I think also as an owner of the main owner, you're probably looking at the financial situation. What caused them to not doing well in that location? Because you want to do a study of what's going on and why is it not working. Maybe it's something the franchisee did to cause it, and if they did, they maybe revamp it and say, okay, we're taking over your location here. But
the franchisee, they know the market. Like any corporate stores, they're not very good at doing like sales and stuff that track people in. But when a franchisee owns it, they can go to schools and promote it, or they can go to different locations or events and be there. Whereas a corporation, they just can't. They don't have the time or the resources to have someone in charge of just the demographic area and manipulating the store just a little bit for the demographic area.
Usually the main owner usually pick the location for the franchisee to open it.
Well, they have requirements. Yeah, they have set requirements. You can't just build a McDonald's anywhere you want. There's all these rules. Like, it has to be 1 mile away from another store. It has to be in 80% of the store has to be inside of the road. Like, all these crazy rules, so that the location is taken care of. But okay, so the next question.
What are the specific advantages and disadvantages of the franchising model for Noodles, including the financial, economic, and organizational consequences?
So I think we've talked about like the positive, but the negative, they lose a little control. when they go sell the company's not worth as much because they don't own all that capital.
Yeah.
Economically, it's negative in the sense, control organization is, you just have to have better managements. You have to, because they're going to have 150 stores they own. They have to have managers to cover those 150 stores, and then the 150 stores that are franchised, they have to have managers to cover that. So because they're not a 100% franchised company, they kind of have to have half of each. They have to have both, the best of both worlds, and that incorporates a bit of cost. Like they said in the text, they have to hire like 3 new people just to start up the franchisee companies.
Positive, but another positive thing is when you get capital coming in though from the franchisee, that's capital that you would not have normal use. You can reuse that money and open your own store.
Yeah.
Without the franchisee, but they're using the franchisee money to start up a new company. So that's the benefit. So
well, with $6.4 million in profit, based off this, like it cost about $300,000 to open up a new store. I mean, $6.4 million divided by 300,000. I mean, that's a lot of stores, new stores every year if they just completely reinvest every year.
Yeah, exactly.
So, anyways, well, I'm trying to think this week. I don't know how